Hi everyone, I'm Faris Hazem and I'm super excited to introduce you to my Capstone project from the 5-day Generative AI Intensive course by Kaggle, Google Cloud, DeepMind, and Google Labs. Over the course, we explored the latest in generative AI from foundational models and embeddings to agents and MLOps. For the final challenge, I decided to tackle a real-world problem we all face: scheduling meetings. That's where my project comes in. The Smart Meeting Scheduler AI agent. This agent is designed to simplify and streamline the process of setting up meetings through a natural conversational interface instead of back and forth emails or checking multiple calendars. You just talk to the assistant and it takes care of the rest. It understands your availability, handles time zones, supports both online and offline formats, and even creates events directly in your Google Calendar, all powered by cutting-edge generative AI. In this demo, I will walk you through how it works, show you some of the generative AI techniques under the hood, and demonstrate its key features in action. Okay, now first, I'm setting up the environment for the project. I remove a few packages that might cause issues, then install the tools I need like LangGraph to build the logic of our AI agent using graphs, Gemini support to easily connect with Google's Gemini 1.5 model, and Gradio to create a simple and interactive user interface. Once this is done, we are ready to start building the agent. In this part, I'm importing all the core libraries I will use in the project. These include tools for authentication with Google, interacting with external APIs like Google Calendar, building LLM workflows using LangChain and LangGraph, and creating the user interface with Gradio. With everything imported, we are ready to start building the core logic of the agent. Here I am securely loading my Google API key using Kaggle secrets. Then I set it as environment variable so the project can use it when connecting to Google service like Calendar. With that done, the agent will be able to interact with Google API safely and securely. Next, in this step, I set up the main configuration for the project. This includes the Google Calendar API scopes for read and write access, the label for my OAuth credentials stored in Kaggle secrets, where to save the user's access token, the LLM model I will be using, and the redirect URI for authentication. With all of this set, the project knows how to connect to the right services and tools. Here I define the structured state that the agent will use as it runs. This includes things like whether the user is authenticated, the meeting details being collected, and the user's preferences like their time zone. This state helps the agent keep track of everything during the scheduling flow, step by step. In this part, I set up the system prompt that guides how the assistant behaves. It follows a few-shot prompting strategy with clear rules for collecting meetings info, using the user's time zone, handling authentication, and creating the calendar event. And finally, making sure the model never assumes any information. It only uses what the user provides. This prompt helps the agent stay focused and consistent throughout the scheduling process. Here I define the function that handles authentication using the out-of-band method, which works well in environments like Gradio, where normal redirects don't work. Key things this setup does: starts the OOP flow using credentials stored safely in Kaggle secrets, lets users log in using a manual URL and code, saves tokens securely and refreshes them when needed, handles permission issues smoothly, and finally gives us a valid connection to the Google Calendar API for scheduling. This ensures the agent can safely access the user's calendar when needed. In this section, I define a tool called Find Available Slots. It checks availability for a group of attendees within a specific date and time range. Here is what it does. Supports optional time zone input and also validates user input. Handles authentication. Queries Google Calendar to get free or busy data, and returns common available slots for the meeting. This tool makes scheduling meetings easier by finding times that work for everyone. In this section, I define a tool called Create Calendar Event. It creates new events in the user's Google Calendar by adding required and optional attendees, setting event details like time and location and description, and ensuring input is validated correctly. The tool also includes error handling for authentication and API issues to ensure everything runs smoothly. In this section, I set up the Chat Google Generative AI model from LangChain. Here is what happens. The model is rebuilt for compatibility. A list of tools like find available slots and create calendar events are linked to the model using bind tools, and I run diagnostics to check that the tools are correctly connected. This ensures the LLM has all the necessary tools to perform tasks like scheduling meetings. In this section, I define graph nodes that manage both the OOB authentication and the scheduling process. Clear instructions are provided for users to complete the authentication. The system state is updated based on user input. Once authenticated, the LLM continues with the scheduling process. This ensures a smooth flow from logging in to setting up the meeting. This section implements the routing logic for the scheduling graph. It directs execution based on the user authentication status, recent AI messages, and the results of tool codes. It also manages situations like waiting for the OOB codes, re-authentication, and completing tool codes, ensuring everything runs smoothly. In this section, I build and compile the agent graph that manages both authentication and the scheduling. It defines the nodes for each step, sets the entry point, and creates the conditional routes between the scheduling tool and authentication nodes. This ensures the entire flow works as expected from login to scheduling the meeting. In this section, I visualize compile the agent graph as a mermaid diagram and display it directly in the notebook. In this section, I set up the Gradio UI to handle user messages, show chat history, and automatically detect the user's time zone through JavaScript. It also integrates OAuth authentication and triggers the agent graph to process the user's input. And finally, I launched the Gradio app for the smart meeting scheduler. The app handles user messages, manages authentication, and clears conversations. And now I will show you the product.